the topic of whether 23rd century Starfleet had holodeck technology and why it wasn't used until the time of Star Trek. The Next Generation is canonically addressed in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, Season 3, Episode 4. Written by Dana Horgan and Catherine Lynn, and directed by Jonathan Frakes, A Space Adventure Hour is the first ever holodeck episode of Star Trek. Strange New Worlds, and a genre-bending, hugely entertaining murder mystery frolic. Captain Christopher Pike, Anson Mount, and Number 1, Rebecca Romichin, assign Lieutenant La'an Noonien-Singh, Christina Chong, the duty of testing out Starfleet's new recreation room, or holodeck. Using pattern buffer data of the Enterprise's crew as the holodeck's characters, La'an requests that the computer on the USS Enterprise create a murder case for her to solve based on Amelia Moon, one of her favorite detective novels from childhood. But La'an quickly finds himself confined in the holodeck, depleting the Starship Enterprise's energy and possibly causing it to crash into a nearby star for destruction. La'an must figure out the enigma and turn off the holodeck in order to save the Enterprise. Here is how Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. Season 3, Episode 4 is resolved, complete with layers of parody, references to Star Trek themes, and a developing new romance. Holodeck technology in the mid-23rd century consumed too much of a starship's power to be useful, especially for crew recreation during deep space travel, as revealed in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, Season 3, Episode 4. In order to maintain La'an's complex holodeck software, the USS Enterprise's computer redirected its power and systems, which was detrimental to the vessel. Additionally, safety procedures were turned off, keeping Lieutenant La'an Noonien-Singh confined to the holodeck until she finished the story and figured out the murder mystery. In the end, Captain Christopher Pike decided that the holodeck's technology was too unworkable to be used on starships and called for its burying. Pike put an end to the notion of a holodeck on the Starship Enterprise, despite the fact that Lieutenant Montgomery Scott, Martin Quinn, noted that holodecks could be successful with a dedicated server and power source. The murder of the studio head who canceled the 1969 science fiction television series The Last Frontier was the subject of La'an Noonien-Singh's Amelia Moon mystery. The suspects were assembled at the Hollywood home where the murder occurred, and they were all somehow connected to The Last Frontier. After killing Agent Joni Gloss, Celia Rose Gooding, ex-producer Sonny Lupino, Rebecca Romijn, and actor Lee Woods, Melissa Navia, the killer attempted to kill La'an with a falling chandelier. T.K. Bellows, Anson Mount, shot the Vulcan and ran away after confronting La'an and her partner, Lieutenant Spock, Ethan Peck, while intoxicated. La'an embraced her Vulcan dance partner, relieved that Spock had only sustained a flesh wound, and discovered that he did not radiate body heat. Through their dance lessons, La'an got to know Spock well, and reached to the conclusion that Spock was both the murderer and a hologram. The Spock La'an first encountered as Amelia Moon was always a fiction, and the real Spock never set foot in the holodeck. Spock was programmed as the attacker since he was the last person La'an would suspect, and the USS Enterprise's computer followed her instructions for a problem she could solve. However, Joni Gloss explains that the true theme of A Space Adventure Hour was found in La'an's Amelia Moon murder mystery, The Last Frontier, or how Star Trek enables viewers to better understand the world and themselves while tackling challenging concepts and ideas through the lens of science fiction. No matter how ridiculous and goofy it was, The Last Frontier could have lasted for decades, which is the actual worth of Star Trek and the sadness of its cancellation. Because Commander Pelia Carol Kane was on shore leave and the young engineer was overwhelmed by the holodeck problem, Scotty was left to fly alone in engineering. A far cry from the miracle worker, Lieutenant Commander Montgomery Scott, James Doohan, who will serve as the chief engineer of the USS Enterprise in Star Trek. The original series, Scotty is brilliant but insecure and inexperienced. Interestingly, Scotty called out Ensign Nyota Uhura, Celia Rose Gooding, for assistance after realizing that La'an was stuck in the holodeck, which was taking all of the Starship Enterprise's power to maintain the program. Although Communications Officer Uhura is a senior officer and a member of the bridge crew, Scotty sought for another genius from the Enterprise's lower decks since he didn't want to approach Captain Pike or Lieutenant Commander Una Chin Riley. La'an and Spock formally became a couple after their kiss at the conclusion of Star Trek. Strange New Worlds, Season 3, Episode 4. Thank you for watching.